review of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Yes, this is such a powerful book. It is a book that helps us to be effective, right? And today we're actually going to start, examining the 7 habits. And so we're going to start with habit number 1, which says be proactive. Right? Can you hear me clearly? Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Habit number 1 says be proactive. And this is one of the 3 habits that help us to obtain personal victories. Henry David Thoreau says, I know of no more encouraging fact, thank you, than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. Let me read that again. I know of no more encouraging fact, thank you, than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. As you read this book, the author is giving us a quick exercise here. Close your eyes and imagine, stand aside or apart from yourself. Close your eyes, imagine yourself in your mind's eye reading a book. Now stand apart, come out of yourself as Christina or as Kolawole or as Grace, and then imagine that you are reading a book. You know when you close your eyes and you imagine things? Yes, do that for 2 seconds. Right, how does it feel? Can you look at yourself as if you are someone else? Or do you still see yourself as part of yourself? You should be able to separate yourself from this person reading a book, right? Or are you trying to, decipher what you are doing, or what you can make of this mental exercise and the points that you can make out of it or whatever, right? What the author is trying to help us do is called self-awareness. And self-awareness is uniquely human. Animals do not possess this ability. It is only human beings that possess the ability of self-awareness, the ability to think about your thought process, to step aside from yourself, to realize who you are, to reflect on who you are, to evaluate yourself, your behaviors, your actions. This is the reason why man has dominion over all things in the world and why you can make significant advances from generation to generation. Until you become self-aware, then your journey towards success has not started. It means that you don't even know who you are, let alone what you want out of life. You are not your feelings. You are not your mood. Try to separate your feelings from who you are. Try to separate your mood from who you are. Try to separate your thoughts from who you are, because negative thoughts will creep into your mind every now and then. But if you separate those thoughts to say, no, this is not me, you'll be able to banish it immediately and not give it a further, and not empower it further. But some people can really not do this. And so they see themselves carrying out the evil thoughts that they are thinking. And before they know it, they become criminals. They become drug addicts. Right. Self-awareness is a very powerful tool that you must possess as a human being. The fact that you can think about this yourself and your actions separates you from animals. It enables you to see yourself. That is self-paradigm, the map, some theories about yourself. And this is one of the things that actually bring about effectiveness in life. It affects your attitudes, it affects your behaviors, it also affects the way you see other people. If you are not self-aware, you'll be projecting your negativity onto other people. You project your stinginess onto other people. You project your upheld beliefs about the world, about reality onto other people. And so when other people behave differently from you, you think they are crazy, you think they are wrong, you think they don't know what they are doing, right? It is because of self-awareness. If you are self-aware, it helps you understand that other people are different from you and so on. Now, let us look at the social mirror. So many people look at themselves through the social mirror, and this is wrong. It means that they have not discovered themselves. They don't even know who they are. If the only vision we have of ourselves come from the social mirror, from the current social paradigm, from our culture, from our society, from the opinions, perceptions, and the paradigms of other people around us, then the view of ourselves, our view of ourselves is like the reflection in the crazy mirror room at the carnival that keeps saying to you, oh, you are never on time. Why can't you ever keep things in order? You must be an artist. You talk like a fool. You eat like an horse. I can't believe you won. This thing is so simple. Why can't you understand it? You are a dunce. This social mirror keeps projecting all kinds of negativity onto you. And then the vision becomes disjointed. We are looking at the principles of personal vision under habit 1, which says be proactive. So the vision becomes disjointed. You don't even understand who you are. You are confused. A lot of people grew up like this. What their parents constantly said to them, what the society, their teachers constantly said to them. And so they accept it to be who they are. People project their weaknesses onto you and different things. The reflection of the current social paradigm tells us that we are largely determined by conditioning and conditions. And this will lead us to look at 3 social maps, 3 theories of determinism. Determinism means, accepting your fate, accepting that something cannot change and that you don't have control over it. You just have to take it as it is. It is fixed. Right, that is what determinism means. And a lot of people are going through this theory. They find themselves entrenched in this theory. So the first one is genetic determinism. This one basically says that your grandparents did it to you. That's why you have such a bad temper. Oh, it was passed down from your grandparents, in your family, from your great-grandparents to your grandparents. Everybody is hot-tempered, or everybody is lazy, or everybody is hardworking, maybe to bring some positivity into it. Oh, it's in your DNA. That is generic determinism. So there is nothing you can do about it. Or maybe because you are a Nigerian, you behave in a certain way, things like that. The second one is psychic determinism. And this basically says that your parents did it to you. The way you behave, what you are today, has to do with your upbringing, your childhood experience. Your parents laid out how your life would go. The way you behave, your character, everything has been structured. You are a shy person because your parents were shy, because of the way you were raised. Your parents never allowed you to go out, or you don't know how to face the crowd just because your parents told you that you should always sit down at home or something. You feel terribly guilty when you make mistakes, and you keep remembering all the things that your parents did to you, and you condition your mind to say that, well, that is my fate. That is what my parents did to me. It was because of the way they raised me. If only they had raised me differently. That is psychic determinism. It's only in your head. The third one is environmental determinism. And this one basically says your boss is doing this to you, or your spouse is doing this to you, or your economic situation, your country, your government, national policies are doing this to you. Someone or something in your environment is responsible for your situation. You are under this kind of circumstance because of your place of birth, because of where you're living, and all of that. That is environmental determinism. And some people play into this, and they become victims of their environment, of the people around them. But how accurately and functionally do these deterministic maps describe the territory? How clearly do these mirrors reflect the true nature of man? Do they become self-fulfilling prophecies? Are they based on principles we can validate within ourselves? Now, this will lead us to the next one, between stimulus and responses. We'll use this to answer all these questions. And we'll use the story of Viktor Frankl to understand whether all these types of determinism are actually controlling our lives, or maybe we are the ones that have subjected ourselves to their power. Viktor Frankl was a determinist. He was raised in the tradition of Freudian psychology, which postulates that whatever happens to you as a child shapes your character and personality and basically governs your whole life. The limits and parameters of your life are set, And basically, you can't do much about it. So this guy, Frankl, was also a psychiatrist. He was a Jew. He was imprisoned in the death camps of Nazi Germany, where he experienced things that were so repugnant to our sense of dignity. He experienced dehumanizing things, that we cannot even begin to say. In fact, his parents, his brother, his wife, all died in the camps and were sent to the gas ovens. It was only his sister that did not die in his entire family. This guy suffered. He was tortured. He was beaten. He was battered. His dignity was dealt with, was destroyed. He had nothing left naturally speaking. He had no dignity left, or he was not supposed to have any dignity left. Talking about, based on the kind of torture that we went through. And day after day, he would be expecting his fate, that maybe he would also be sent to the gas oven, or maybe he will come out alive and be the one to, to shovel out the ashes of his family members that have been burnt, or maybe he would, prepare their grave or anything like that. But one day, one very day, naked and alone in a small room, this day marked the beginning of his deliverance. This is a powerful story, if you follow me. One day, naked and alone in a small room, he began to become aware of what he later called the last of the human freedoms. The freedom his Nazi captors could not take away. They could imprison him, but they couldn't take away this freedom. They could control his entire environment, but they could do what they wanted to do to his body. But Viktor Frankl himself was a self-aware being who could look as an observer at his very involvement. His basic identity was intact. That is what matters in life. It is not about what your environment does to you, what the government does, the policies, what your boss or your parents does. It is about your identity. If your identity is intact, there is nothing anybody can do to destroy you, to take away your dignity or your freedom. Right? He could decide within himself how all of the torture and dehumanizing treatment he was going through could affect him. We are looking at stimulus and response. Stimulus is what happens to you. Response is how you respond to it. Your action to that thing. Right. And then between what happened to him, the stimulus, and his response to it was his freedom or power to choose that response. He projected himself into different circumstances. He started to see himself in a different light. He embodied self-awareness. He embodied his identity, his freedom so much that he would not allow anybody to take it away from him. And he did this to the point that he began to change other people. He began to help other people to find meaning in their suffering. Even the guards in the camps started to see him in a different light. They started to draw inspiration from him. He helped others. Thank you. He helped others to find meaning. This was somebody that was in prison, somebody that had a choice to say, oh, this prison is the end, his life is finished, and things like that. And in the midst of these degrading circumstances imaginable, Frankl used the human endowment of self-awareness to discover a fundamental principle about the nature of man. Between stimulus and response, man has the freedom to choose. You have the freedom to choose. Even God has given us the freedom to choose. He says, death and life I place before you. Choose ye therefore. Which one do you choose? If you are suffering, it's because you have chosen suffering. I'm not talking of temporary suffering. No. There are times that all of us go through temporary suffering. Times that, things may not work, money may not come, you may not get jobs, you are reading, you are studying, nothing is entering. We have that phase. That one is a phase. It is temporary. We are talking of you settling for it. When they say don't settle for less, it doesn't mean that less may not come your way. It means that you don't condition yourself to say, oh, this is my fate, let me accept it. And then you stop pushing. You stop growing. You stop advancing. That is what it means. So you have the freedom to choose. Within the freedom to choose are those endowments that make us uniquely human. Number one is self-awareness. It is our imagination. I can be here. Right now, I'm in Nigeria. With my imagination, I can see myself in America. In fact, I'm seeing myself in New York right now. I'm seeing myself in Manhattan, yes. Wall Street, yes. That is what your imagination does. You can be there in Cameroon, and then you see yourself in South Africa. Or you can be inside your house and you see yourself in your church at the pulpit preaching to a crowd. Use the power of imagination. We don't use it enough. Imagine things. That is the beginning of anything that you can give birth to. Imagination. We also have the power of conscience, a deep inner awareness of right and wrong. When you do wrong, you know. Oh, Mr. Ikechukwu is seeing himself in Atlanta, Georgia. Nice. You like good things, I know. Right? We also have the power of independent will, the ability to act. And animals do not have this. This is a great capacity that God has given us. So you have no need to suffer, needless suffering. There is one hymn that I like to sing. Like, I can't remember right now, just keep my mind. But it says something like, sometimes we go through needless pain. You know, we go through needless pain, something like that. All because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. That one is talking about prayer, right? Thank you. You know, I'm just trying to remember that exact line. What a friend we have in Jesus. You know, that's it. Right. We go through needless suffering. We go through needless pain because we don't think. We don't use the power of our imagination. We just condition ourselves, which is uniquely human to us. God has given us this ability. Now, let us define proactivity. Proactivity is just more than taking initiative. It is a word that you will not find in most dictionaries. It means more than taking initiative. It means that as human beings, we are responsible for our own lives. Our behavior is a function of our decisions, not our conditions. We can subordinate feelings to values. We have the initiative and responsibility to make things happen. That is proactivity. The word responsibility means responsibility. Your ability to choose your response. The government has come up with a policy that will affect you, affect your business. You have the ability to choose how you respond to that. Some people will whine from morning till night, shouting the name of their president, instead of rethinking their ways. Okay, what can I do? How can I come out of this? At least some people are still making it in this tough economy. Right, it has to do with your response. Highly proactive people recognize that responsibility. They do not blame circumstances, conditions, or conditioning for their behavior. Their behavior is a product of their own conscious choice based on values rather than products of their conditions or feelings. Be proactive. Be proactive. Don't be reactive. Reactive is the opposite of proactive. Pro means that even before that thing comes to break you, to affect you, you have taken a step, 10 steps ahead. But reactive means that after something has happened, you are now thinking, what can I do? You now be complaining. You now be responding based on what has happened. But when you are proactive, before that thing happens, you are 5 steps ahead, 100 steps ahead. I remember the first time I went to America. I will always be thankful for that. I'll give you the full gist, maybe in another video. It was because I was proactive. I just sat down in my room one day in Pretoria in South Africa. And I'm like, I'm almost done with my PhD. I really have gone to this country. I have not gone to America. I will go to America before I finish my PhD. And then I started taking some proactive steps. And I went to America, all expense paid. I didn't have my own money. I was a student. I didn't have money to go to America. All expense paid. It was a beautiful experience. I had money to do shopping, to lodge, to move around town. You know, an all expense paid trip. It is one of the sweetest things in life, right? Just because I was proactive, just because I was thinking ahead. So many students, just like me, did not go to one single country so they finished their studies. But I went to a couple of countries, all expense paid. Let me not bore you with that story. Be proactive, be thinking ahead, right? You make choices, don't be reactive. Reactive people are often affected by their physical environment. If the weather is good, they feel good. If the weather is bad, it affects their attitude, their mood. If somebody tells them, oh, your dress is not fine, it affects them for the rest of the day. If somebody says, why is your hair looking scattered like this? They become devastated. But proactive people don't behave like that. Even when the weather is not good, they carry their own umbrella. They see the sunshine in a cloudy weather. That is the kind of attitude that you should have. Reactive people are driven by feelings, by circumstances and conditions. Proactive people are influenced. Proactive people are still influenced by external stimuli. It's not that they are immune to it, but they choose how they react to it. They choose their response. Just like Eleanor Roosevelt says, no one can hurt you without your consent. And Gandhi also said they cannot take away our self-respect if we do not give it to them. If you don't give somebody the consent to hurt you, to destroy your feelings, your mood, to make you feel less of yourself, they cannot. Stop empowering people. Stop empowering those who are bringing you down. You are giving them the power. I like the story that is here. It is about a nurse. One day, the author, Stephen Covey, was in Sacramento. He was speaking on the subject of proactivity. And all of a sudden, a woman jumped up in excitement, like she wanted to say something. And then she started talking, but people were looking at her. But after, and then she sat down, right? She felt embarrassed. But afterwards, the author went to her and said, what happened? We're going to say something. And she said she was a full-time nurse. And she had been taking care of the most miserable, ungrateful man. And other people felt like that before. This man would never appreciated anything that she did. And so she and other nurses were almost praying for his demise. But sitting down in that meeting, the author was saying that, nobody can hurt you if you don't give them the consent to hurt you. That you have to choose your own emotional life. You don't have to be miserable because other people made you miserable. And all of a sudden, it was like as if a bright light burst forth inside her. And she said, yes. She finally realized that power. That man could not make her miserable. She's miserable because she has chosen to be miserable. So if you hate your life, if you hate the country you are born into, you hate your parents, you hate everything, it's because you have chosen to hate. Because you have chosen to suffer. You have chosen to be miserable. That is it. And you have empowered that feeling so much. It is not about what happens to you. It is about what happens in you. You can choose a different circumstances. Now let's look at taking the initiative. Take the initiative. Our basic nature as human beings is to act, not to be acted upon, as well as enabling us to choose our response to particular circumstances. It empowers us to create circumstances. Take the initiative. Taking initiative does not mean being pushy or obnoxious or aggressive. It just means that you recognize your ability to make things happen. I tell you honestly, from my personal experiences, you have the ability to make things happen. Trust me when I say so. I'm not motivating you. If this sounds like motivation to you, you have the ability to change things. You have. You do. Use that power to your own advantage. Stop allowing people to trample on you. Stop being a victim to your circumstances. Come on. And this power can be used in your business, can be used everywhere. You have the choice to act or be acted upon. The difference between people who exercise initiative and those who don't is literally the difference between night and day. And we're not talking of 10, 20, 25, 50% difference. We're talking of 5,000 plus difference. They are up there. Those who take initiative, they are way ahead. They are the people that will be saying, oh, that guy started a business. He founded that. He's just 20 years old. That man is a money. He's a billionaire. It's not that they didn't face obstacles. Go and ask Dangote. I'm sure he has his very bitter moments. Like when he wanted to start the refinery in Nigeria, and even the government was not supporting him. And people were, coming out to some were supporting him, some were not in support of what he was doing. He had his own tough moments. But above it all, he chooses to rise. So you can choose to rise. My network. Okay. My network had a glitch right there. It takes initiative to create the PPC balance that we talked about yesterday, production and production capacity balance. It takes initiative to do that. And that is when you have effectiveness in your life. It takes initiative to develop the 7 habits. As you study the other 6 habits, you will see that each habit depends on the development of your proactive muscles. Each puts the responsibility on you to act, act, act. Forget about failure. Forget about the outcome. You just act. That is the first rule of success. Act, take a step, make a move, show up. Sometimes we think about the end from the beginning and then we conjure up all kinds of excuses, the worst case scenarios and everything. And so we eventually don't act. Those things dampen our ability to act. If you wait to be acted upon, you will be acted upon. There are so many circumstances that will act upon you. People will act upon you. The devil will act upon you. Life itself will act upon you. You had better act first before you are acted upon. And growth and opportunity consequences attend either road. Whether you act or be acted upon, you will find growth and opportunity, maybe in a positive light or negative light. You will. Right. We're almost at the end. Now, the last thing we'll look at is our language. Listen to your language. You want goodness, but what is your language saying? Because our attitudes and behaviors flow out of our paradigms. If we use our self-awareness to examine them, we can often see in them the nature of our underlying maps. Our language, for example, is a very real indicator of the degree to which we see ourselves as proactive people. What is your language? Reactive people will say there's nothing I can do. A proactive person will say, let's look at the alternatives. There can be solution. A reactive person will say, that's just the way I am, or I am shy. I am hot-tempered. I just don't like stressing myself. I don't like. A proactive person will say, I can choose a different approach. A reactive person will say, oh, it makes me so mad. It makes me miserable. A proactive person will say, I control my own feelings. I am responsible for the way I respond to other people's actions and behaviors. A reactive person will say, they won't allow that, so let's not go there, let's not try it. Just like when Jacob told those people, not Jacob, Jacob and Caleb were told to go and spy the land. And they said, we can overcome them. We will crush over them. They are like ants. But the other 10 spies were like, no, those people are giants. Let's not go there. They will crush us. A proactive person will say, I can create an effective presentation. A reactive person will say, I have to do that. A proactive person says, I will choose an appropriate response. A reactive person says, I can't. A proactive person says, I choose. A reactive person says, I must. A proactive person says, I prefer. A reactive person says, if only this, if only that. A proactive person says, I will go to that company and I will do that. A reactive person will always say, oh, something is limiting me. I can't go there. They are controlling me. This determines my fate. It is the way I am. It is my luck. No. Never say you have to do anything. You choose. Whatever you do, it is what you have chosen to do. Just like the man here. We'll close with this story. He told the author, Stephen Covey, he said, I can't love my wife. I don't love my wife anymore. What can I do? And the author says, love her. He says, it's like, you don't hear what I'm saying. I said, I don't love her. He still told him, love her. The man says, you don't understand. I've lost all kinds of love for her. No love anymore. He says, love her. Then love her, Then love her. Because love is not just a feeling. If the feeling is not there, that is a good reason to love her. But how do you love when you don't love? Love is a verb. In case you are lacking love in your own marriage or relationship, love is a verb. It is not a feeling. Feeling is just the fruit of love. When you love somebody, that's when you start feeling butterflies in your tummy. You start feeling all kinds of excitement, right? Love. For you to love, you serve her, sacrifice, listen to her, empathize with her, appreciate her, affirm her. Are you willing to do that? Love is sacrificial, right? It is not driven by feelings. Hollywood, Nollywood, Bollywood, Gollywood have scripted so many movies that help us believe that, oh, for you to love somebody, you must be feeling butterflies in your tummy. It's all glamour. You go out, you eat together, and all of that. No, love is more than that. It is sacrificial. It is an act. It is a verb. It is something that you do daily, consciously, intentionally. Proactive people make love a verb. Love is something you do. The sacrifices you make. If you're a parent, it is not a question of whether you love your children. You have to love them. Do so many things for them. Even if you have not eaten, they eat. Use that same, approach for your spouse. If your children are not in bed, you can't sleep. If they go out, they are not back home. Your mind is not at rest. It's the same thing you should do towards your spouse, right? Love is a value that is actualized through loving actions. This is where we're going to stop today. We're not done with habits number 1. We're going to finish it up on Monday by God's grace. Thank you so much for joining me on the review tonight. Don't forget to like this video, share your comments with me, and please subscribe to this channel in case you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady. And on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come your way again on Monday. We're not meeting tomorrow, Sunday. Monday, 9 p.m. West African time. And then we're going to conclude habit number 1. Take good care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And remember to be intentional. Bye. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.